Hello there. This is December the 27th, 2022. And I have a question about Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. This is from Mike in Folsom, California. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, where it says, "Let us make man in our image." Now, what this question is really about is it is about a certain word that's used in the scriptures to describe God. It's the word Elohim. And the concern is that this word is being used in order to say that there are multiple gods or multiple persons that are associated with God, because the word is in the plural. And we have a translation that says, "Let us make man in our image," in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. And so based on this translation into English, it kind of supports the tritheistic view of God, that there are three different persons, or what that would eventually describe as three different gods. Now, you might wonder, first of all, if the people who wrote the scriptures and who taught the scriptures and who memorized the scriptures, if the people effectively understood that there is only one God, then why is it that we have these other people, who don't even know the language that this was written in to begin with? What are these other people showing up saying that there is to be a different interpretation of this word Elohim to represent their tritheistic or their polytheistic view of who God is, instead of recognizing that God is a singular person, one who has revealed himself in multiple ways, but it is still the same singular person? How do we put this together? All right. Now, there are several ways of approaching this. The first way is to say that, from a translational point of view, this we and our and us, okay, this us and our, that would be better described as an editorial us or an editorial our. It doesn't necessarily mean that is the absolute definition of the word to say that there are multiple persons. Okay, it can be editorial in the sense that God is going to create mankind and he's got his angels around him, and he's going to say, "Let us do this." And of course they would say, "Okay." But it doesn't necessarily mean that there's multiple persons who are doing the creating. Okay? It doesn't mean that. It's just an editorial expression. That's one way to approach it, and that's reasonable. I don't normally look at it from that point of view, but, some people will appreciate it, and so that's why I thought I'd start with that. What I see is from a grammatical point of view, all right? And I've studied Hebrew grammar long enough and well enough that I can say this with absolute confidence, that this is a grammatical construct in order to express something about our God, but it doesn't mean that there are multiple gods. Okay? Now, this is really difficult to see unless you know Hebrew, and you got to study Hebrew in order to know this. Let me explain it to you this way. In Hebrew, when you have adjectives and nouns, they have to both be in the singular or in the plural in order to work together. That's just the definition of the language. If you've got a singular noun, you use a singular adjective. If you've got a plural noun, you use a plural adjective. That's just the way that the language is. But you will see, as you study many occasions of the word Elohim and other ways that God has been described, it's not unusual to see the plural word used with singular adjectives. All right? So what this is representing, or how this is understood from a grammatical point of view, is to say that there is a singular God. However, he cannot be defined in a singular way like we can. So what this becomes a way of expressing the divine. All right? It's just a way of expressing that God is divine, that he's not human, that he cannot be limited by singular attributes. All right? The use of the plural word to describe God is a way of saying that he cannot be restricted or restrained by singular attributes like we can. It is a different kind of person. It is God, not one of us. And so we just call that the divine word, or the divine name, the way of expressing the divine. We do it with the plural just as a way to say that this is an expression of God instead of saying that it is the expression of a person like one of us. All right? So that's just embedded within the language. It's embedded within the language and understood in that context. So that's how I understand this and how I've always understood this. It's just embedded in part of language itself. And that if a person will understand Hebrew grammar, if they understand the grammar well, then they'll be able to identify this. If they rely on the English translations, then there can be a lot of opportunity for confusion when it comes to this topic. Okay, I hope that this is of help. If you have any other questions for me, then do send them to me directly to my email at aaron@aaronbudgeon.net. Thanks.